Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Now Anthony Joshua is looking quite lean in his preparations for Kubrat Pulev. Obviously the fight is just around the corner, so not much is going to change from now until then. So I think that he's going to be around 17 stone, maybe just above. I don't think he will be a lot heavier than he was going in against Andy Ruiz. He will be heavier, just not a lot heavier. I think that Anthony Joshua is finding a happy medium in between his boxing styles, because I think that Anthony Joshua realizes that you need to adjust as you go into the fight. So effectively at this kind of level, he's in there with top opponents back to back, and Andy Ruiz Jr. had a certain style that could cause him problems if he didn't take things away from Ruiz. So what he done was boxed him instead of allow Ruiz to get on the inside and have a fight, which means that he's gambling instead of sticking to his fundamentals and outboxing the guy he knows he can. So in this fight with Kubrat Pulev, it's kind of going to be the other way around. Kubrat Pulev will want to box with Anthony Joshua. If he fights with him, he'll get knocked out for sure. Anthony Joshua is a better fighter than Kubrat Pulev. He's a better boxer as well, but still that is Kubrat Pulev's best chance. So that is what he will do. He will want Anthony Joshua to box with him, jab with him, and he won't want to engage and exchange all that much. So what Kubrat Pulev will do is look to establish a foothold in the fight early on, so establish his jab, and look for some weaknesses in Anthony Joshua. That is what he has already explained. He's going to avoid the strengths of Anthony Joshua and exploit the weaknesses. That is going to be his game plan. Now, I know that sounds simple, but that is what you must do if you are going to have a chance in there with a world champion like Anthony Joshua. So Pulev is going to try his best to offset Anthony Joshua. Now, whether he does try and make it rough at times could be a possibility, but I think that on the inside he will try and make it rough by grappling and holding, because he does not fight well on the inside. It is interesting because last time Anthony Joshua had to keep Ruiz on the outside because Ruiz was the inside fighter, whereas this time around Anthony Joshua is the inside fighter in this fight. You can see how subtle adjustments need to be made depending upon what opponent Anthony Joshua is in there with, because the same game plan that he will need to beat Pulev necessarily won't beat Andy Ruiz Jr. It might do, but again, it's probably going to be more of a gamble. And the same game plan that beat Ruiz might beat Kubrat Pulev, but it's more of a gamble again. So Anthony Joshua in this particular fight does need to be explosive. He does need to be a lot more offensive than he was against Andy Ruiz, where he was boxing off the back foot. So in there with Kubrat Pulev, I think we can expect to see him establish his jab, establish the punches that work, find the punches that land on Kubrat Pulev, the ones that he cannot defend against, because one thing we have seen with Kubrat Pulev is he is unable to make those adjustments when it matters at elite level. We saw that in the Klitschko fight. He lost that one, and that was down to him not being able to make adjustments when he came under fire. So I think that Anthony Joshua, once he finds punches that will land, Pulev will be unable to counteract that. Now, in light of that, I think it is interesting that Anthony Joshua does look not necessarily light, but not necessarily heavy at the same time. As I said, I think that he's found a happy medium in between. I think that around 17 stone 4, maybe something like that, which I guess considering he's weighed in around north of a 17 stone, like nearly 18, that is like in the middle, maybe on the lower side for Anthony Joshua, but that's okay. I think that probably he's better when he's lighter. He still has that punching power. He still has the speed, because let's remember, in there with Klitschko at nearly 18 stone, or I think it was 18 stone, he was still extremely fast. He was able to slip into the pocket, land a few punches, combinations, and then get off to the side. He done that extremely well, but he did get tired in that fight. More so than anything else, that was down to nervous energy being burnt from Anthony Joshua, but still, he was heavier, but then again, maybe that benefited him with taking punches from a bigger guy and a heavier puncher like Vladimir Klitschko. So, I mean, it worked out in the end. In this particular fight, Kubrat Pulev doesn't necessarily punch as hard as a Vladimir Klitschko. He's not probably as fast and definitely not as seasoned, because I think that we have to align Kubrat Pulev more so with someone like Vladimir Klitschko as opposed to Andy Ruiz Jr., which a lot of people seem to be doing, especially Pulev's team, Bob Arum. They seem to be believing that just because Andy Ruiz Jr. was able to find certain weaknesses in Anthony Joshua, that means that Kubrat Pulev is going to be able to. That is not the case. Kubrat Pulev does not possess the same abilities, the same durability, the same speed as Andy Ruiz Jr. He has good footwork, he has good positioning, he has a solid jab, and a good right hand. But those things have never really bothered Anthony Joshua when you consider the level of Kubrat Pulev. Obviously, Vladimir Klitschko bothered Anthony Joshua, but you cannot say that Kubrat Pulev is of the level of Vladimir Klitschko. Now, I'm not saying that just because Klitschko beat Pulev and therefore Anthony Joshua can beat Pulev because he beat Klitschko. Styles make fights, but I just think that Kubrat Pulev's style makes perfectly for a good stand-up fight for Anthony Joshua, but also makes for a perfect fight where Anthony Joshua can get the knockout. Now, I'm not completely discrediting Kubrat Pulev in this fight. You cannot, especially at this kind of level. Kubrat Pulev maybe isn't an elite level fighter, but he has proven he's of a certain level in the heavyweight division to get him this opportunity. He can be awkward with that bouncy amateurish style, pawing with the jab. Quite unpredictable at times, but I think that once he is worked out by his opponent, that is when they can start exploiting some of the weaknesses. And I think that Anthony Joshua has proven he is able to make adjustments. He has proven he is able to warm into fights and to set things up as the rounds tick by. He done that against Alexander Povetkin, where he waited until the 7th round to position Alexander Povetkin perfectly, where he squared up to land that right hand when it would cause the most damage. So he's proven that he can make adjustments. He's proven that he can set things up in fights and have a game plan and stick to it. I think that that will be very important in this fight because I think that Pulev will look to make things awkward for Anthony Joshua, especially early on. He won't want to give anything away, so I think we can expect a little bit of a cagey affair to begin with. But I think that as soon as he feels the power of Anthony Joshua, he will go back into his shell. And the question is, what game plan is he planning to carry out? And the problem is, again, when Anthony Joshua starts landing those powerful shots, and he doesn't see them coming because they come fast, and they don't just come one at a time. They come in bunches, in combinations. So when that starts happening to Kubrat Pulev, he will kind of deviate from his game plan. That is when Anthony Joshua will look to close the show because Kubrat Pulev likely won't have a plan B because, as I said, we've seen he cannot make those adjustments in fights such as the Klitschko one. So guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Anthony Joshua versus Kubrat Pulev is just around the corner. Soon it will happen. And we will get to see Anthony Joshua defend his heavyweight world championships. It's going to be a difficult fight. Not extremely difficult, but I think that Kubrat Pulev can represent some challenges for Anthony Joshua. But having said that, I think Anthony Joshua has an answer for every single one of them. Anyway guys, drop your thoughts on this in the comments below, leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.